I welcome all of you on behalf of Sri Aurobindo Integral Life Center, Auro University, as well as Auro Bharati, Pondicherry. It's a wonderful discourse which is happening through our this online Zoom meetings. We heard Belu Mehraji, we heard last time Narendra Joshi ji, and today also I invited Dr. Narendra Joshi ji to discuss what is actually foundation of Indian culture. I requested him to talk about foundation of Indian culture to make it more simpler, to give little background. And this discourse is not only for the intellectual class, but also for the student who are doing research. So it is very important to understand the background in the simplest manner. So that is why I requested Narendra Joshi ji. As well as just few minutes before we were discussing that these discourses are focusing on two things parallelly. One is that we are, going to the past and evaluating our journey of art in many contexts, not only spirituality, but in many contexts, how people discuss in different eras. And the impact of those eras, on our art. As well as we are going through that present journey of our, and we are putting together and evaluating our modern era also, that how art depicts ourselves or our consciousness. Are we on the same page or not? Because it's very important to know, because our art, as Aurobindo says, that always been handmade of religion and spirituality. Let me quote from Aurobindo, and then I will try to justify what I want to say. He says that Indian art has always been a handmaid of religion and spirituality, and supreme function of art in India has been to reveal the divine through forms of beauty, rather than to express the artist's individuality or to give pleasure to the senses. It is this spiritual quality that sets Indian apart and gives its unique power to uplift and transform the consciousness of the viewer. So our search, our discussion leads to our inner search, and find out whether what Sri Aurobindo wants to communicate here, are we on the same page or not? It is very important, because we have never done art for art's sake. We always try to find out ourselves, and we communicate our consciousness through art and art forms. So with this note, I invite Dr. Narendra Joshi ji to speak on Indian culture and foundation of Indian culture, art and spirituality.
Namaste. Yeah, am I audible? Yeah. Am I audible? Can I speak? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. I will try to sort of put my point of views in this very important topic. And Kiranji told me that you also take into this journey how Indian culture as a whole and India and her, of which art is a component, how we can see that in totality, and in a simpler way, how to understand it so that layman also can understand. And sort of, I mean, that's why Indian culture and its basic tenets have been the idea today. So I'd like to go to my presentation. I hope it is visible on the screen. Let me just show this to you. I have titled it as India, her mission, her culture, and key ideas governing her life and arts. Because as Sri Aurobindo himself says, what is culture basically? There are many definitions we are going to see, simple definitions to understand it, because it is often overused or sometimes just very casually used word culture. But how these great stalwarts are trying to understand this very word, that can be very interesting. And how it is one of the definition he says is it is life governed by ideas. That is what is culture. And what do you mean by life governed by ideas? The ideas which are very central to that particular race, that nation's soul's expression, those ideas are the key ideas. And they are expressed in all its creative expressions, including arts. So from that point, we are trying to see. Uh, I I would like to start with Swami Vivekananda's ideas about what is India and her mission, and how he sees Indian culture. And during our introductory talk, Kiranji was mentioning that you can also briefly mention how India has been surviving in spite of so many attacks and vicissitudes, and so much of opposition has been there, and yet we are there. So Swami Vivekananda has said in one of the very beautiful utterances, he says, and I quote, that each nation has a destiny to fulfill. Each nation has a note to play in the march of the nations. Each nation has to give a message to the entire world, he says. And therefore, from the very beginning, being Indians, what is our duty is to understand what is this great nation has mission, what mission India is trying to fulfill, what message she is trying to deliver since ages, what note India is trying to play in this march of nations. Because each nation is going to play its own note, and it's so unique. And if they play all of them their own notes, the harmony of the entire world will be great. There is no point in mimicking each other and trying to compare with each other. He also says in one place that I do not see the future, nor do I care to see. But one thing is very clear in my mind, that this ancient motherland of ours is sitting on her throne, and she will be more glorious than ever before. So he has been very positive about India's destiny and her future. And what is this history of India? What is the history of Indian life? What do I mean by Indian culture and its journey through the millenniums? To put it very simply, it is nothing but struggle for the realization of the ideal of Vedanta through good or bad fortune. So from the beginning of this, India had this idea that we need to fulfill this and realize this ideal of Vedanta. And she has been doing that incessantly. Many other nations gave up that ideal. They changed, but India has still sticking to that. And that is something great. Through good or bad fortunes, she has gone through so many upheavals. And therefore, this ideal of Vedanta, and we will try to put it in very simple words, some Mahavakyas will try to put it so that we remember it all the time when we look at the ideal. Let it be kept in very simple few pointers for us, which will be coming in my forthcoming slides. But he further says that if we want to now unite this entire India, it cannot be done politically, socially, economically. The national union in India must be gathering up of this scattered spiritual process. A nation in India must be the union of those whose hearts beat to the same spiritual tune. He often says that Adhyatma Bharat ka pranaswar hai. तो भारत की एकता, अखंडता, अक्षुण्णता और कुछ नहीं, सबके हृदय का एक साथ ही इस अध्यात्म स्वर से स्पंदन होना है. That all hearts should beat to that same spiritual tune. That is what India's unity in real sense is. And as I said, he further says that she's awakening. It's very positive thing he talks about India and her future. From her deep, long sleep, none can desist her anymore. Never is she going to sleep anymore. No outward power can hold her back. For the infinite giant is rising. That's what he's talking. He has talked profusely about it. We can go on speaking about what he spoke about India. But this is just a brief few ideas, he says. Similarly, Sri Aurobindo, if you look at Sri Aurobindo's ideas also about India and Indian culture, they also are so inspiring to us. Of course, here there are many people who have studied Sri Aurobindo in detail, but still I am tempted to give few lines from his entire great vision about India. He says, I say that it is the Sanatan Dharma which is for us nationalism. This Hindu nation was born with Sanatan Dharma. With it, it moves and with it grows. And when Sanatan Dharma declines, then the nation declines. And if Sanatan Dharma were capable of perishing, with the Sanatan Dharma, it would perish. So for India, nationalism, national unity, all that thing, what we say, religion, art, architecture, everything what you can speak about, ultimately is that same spiritual tune to which our heartbeat should beat. It is that same Sanatan Dharma with which we are going to rise. So I think that is the central point. Similarly, many other things he has talked. I mean, another big topic we will discuss. But this race is not going to be perished. It will never. It is immortal. In one place, I read a very beautiful quote that in the pursuit of immortality and infinity, this nation has itself become immortal. Its culture has become immortal. Because all the time we are thinking of immortality, Amaratva, Anantatva. So in that pursuit, this culture has also got this, it has become immortal in a sense. It's not never going to perish. Similar quote by Swamiji also, I remember when he said, "Shall India die?" And at the end of the quote, he says, "Such a thing can never be. It will never die." In one of his Chicago speeches, Swami Vivekananda says that, that is his quote, but I'm just quoting here, that sect after sect arose when and seemed that this religion of Vedas will never become the same again. Sect after sect arose and seemed that the religion of Vedas is never going to come back, he says, but only for a while. And after this tumult of rush was over, all these external impacts, differences were sucked in, absorbed, and assimilated in the immense body of Mother Faith. So this is the concept of India, to suck, absorb, assimilate every possible difference, every possible, you can say, even opposition. Fierce opposition was also absorbed, assimilated in the immense body of Mother Faith. That's how she is mother of all. So, I mean, one of the best quote I can say, because there are many quotes here, but Mother also says about that, and Sri Aurobindo emphasizes that we are not the ordinary race. No other race in this planet has gone through such tapas, such vicissitudes and all such things as we have gone. And these sufferings have given us this spiritual strength, and we are still clinging to that. And our culture is expression of it. Sri Aurobindo says in Foundations of Indian Culture, this third one I'm saying, India of the ages is not dead, nor had she spoken her last creative word. Now see, here he is using particularly the word creative word. And creativity is ultimately, in another place he says, creativity is the only sign of life. Creation is the only sign of life, he says, and great creation is the sign of great life. So he has often been quoting, whenever he says, she has not spoken her last creative word. She lives and has still something to do for herself and the human people. And the quote goes further, and that's something which seeks to awake is not the docile people of the West, doomed to repeat the Occident cycle of success and failure, but still the ancient immortal Shakti, lifting her head high and turning aside to discover vaster meaning of her own form. All that he goes further in that. But let us go now to the, as we say, let us go back to very, the young people, the students or the layman, how they can look at it. We have seen some great quotes by stalwarts like Swami Vivekananda and Sri Aurobindo. But let us try to get to the root of it. And now we understand culture comes from the Latin word cult, and that means cultivating or tilling or refining something. So something which is cultivated, if you are cultivating soil, you are going to get the crops from it. If you cultivate minds, you are going to get a cultural, heritage from it. So it's all about cultivating minds. And when the product comes out, it evokes admiration and respect. That's how the culture can be, in a simple word, told. So culture is a way of life, the food you eat, the clothes you wear, the language you speak, the gods you worship. All these are parts of and aspects of culture. But let us understand that these are the Bahiranga, these are the external parts of the culture. Its Antaranga or its internal part is about its central idea. As I said, life governed with ideas. Its spirit with which it has been living. So this is the internal part. But when it comes to the external, it will have very beautiful, artistic, colorful manifestation in terms of their dances, their rituals, the food they eat, and the everything which you see outside, the institutions, everything. So that is the way, it is embodiment of the way in which we think and do the things. How we think, how we do the things, that is actually reflected in the culture. Same idea is in the Sanskrit heritage also. If you see the Sanskriti, as Latin people have given the word cultivation or tilling, here also it means Sanskriti has been derived from the root kri, which means to do something. Now, if you do something as per the nature, it is called prakriti. So if you are following the laws of the nature, it is prakriti and nothing wrong about that. But if you're not careful enough, if you do not give enough attention to your basic tendencies and propensities, most naturally, as the water will flow down, as anything will be going down by the gravitation, your being also will be always have possibilities of going down. And that is called the other possibility of Kri, which is the word Vikriti, which is perverted way of living or perverted way of thinking. So if you want to live not as a Pashu, not as a human being, but as a Veera, as a Deva, if you want to turn that upward, the third word which is created from the same dhatu, from the same root, is Sanskriti. So beautifully, they have put the three words, that is Prakriti, Vikruti, and Sanskriti. So what we talk as culture basically is turning nature upwards. Nature otherwise will remain as it is, or mostly it will go down by the natural instincts. And if you always try to refine it, you try to bring it down, put it down, pull it down. That is how the Sanskriti actually comes from all that. So sublimation, elevation, trying to give a elevated turn to anything which appears to be normal. So when it comes to food, you try to inculcate that some way of elevating your body, soul, mind through the food preparation as well as food eating. When it comes to clothing, same. When it comes to festivals, same. When it comes to artistic expressions, now we understand why these things are like this in India, because anything which is natural is not negated, because negation is not the solution. Suppression is not the solution. Solution is sublimation and elevation. So when you try to elevate it, that becomes the Sanskriti. And as I said, there is a Antaranga, Bahiranga. So there is always inner part, which is from the ideas, ideals, philosophy, psychology, all that part. And then there is external part, which will be all your institutions, organizations, systems, rituals, religion. Religion also will come outside, because inside journey will come from the spiritual part. So all that things externally are you are actually Antaranga and Bahiranga, as I said. There is external part of the culture, internal part of culture. That's why life governed with ideas, not all the ideas. Sri Aurobindo says those ideas which are central to that particular race. And it's all about Manomai Kosha. It's not about just Annamai. It's not about physical things you can think, because what happens many times people say your culture is our culture is degenerating. But whether it is talking at the physical level or mental or the deeper levels, that should be checked. So it's more about external forms can go on changing, whether the internal spirit and the mind is able to duplicate itself in those changed circumstances also. Eternal values for the changing society, as Swami Ranganathan puts in lecture series. So society is always going to be external part and changing, but the internal values should remain as they are inside. So that's why, and one of the definitions now, Sri Aurobindo's I can give, apart from the two I said, culture is consciousness of life or the ideas governing life. But the third one, which I like more, is comes again from FIC, it comes in Foundation of Indian Culture. It says that true happiness is the right terrestrial goal of every human being. And he further says, but the true happiness lies in the harmony of head, heart, and hand. What is civilization about? Civilization is all about making institutions, organizations, systems which can preserve this key. And culture is all about finding this key, to find out what this key can be, the key to harmony of head, hand, and heart. It is so comprehensive. I found in this one particular quote by Sri Aurobindo, we can get entire description of what we are discussing. And often opposite of culture, some sort of, you can say perversity or some sort of dissatisfaction, schizophrenic societies and human beings, you will find the first sign is lack of harmony in hand, heart, and head. So hand is trying to do something, heart is not with that, heart is thinking and emoting something else, and head is thinking completely different from that. So when these three things are thinking you can say different things, obviously there is going to be, you can say, degeneration of culture. So culture is all about finding this key, preserving this key, finding out expressions in their literature, art, architecture, music, paintings, sculptures. so that this key can be always perpetuated, expressed, and taught to the people from the young to the old. And civilization is to create systems, institutions, organizations, which will allow maintenance, preservation, and protection of this, what is produced by the culture. So culture is actually inventing, finding out, discovering, and then trying to put it in words, colors, forms, all that part. And civilization is supposed to be creating systems which will be perpetuating it, protecting it, and educating it for all. So that is, I think that's very beautiful way of summarizing what we are trying here. And what are the central ideas of India? Let us take very brief account of it in the limited time. So, and these are the Mahavakyas, these are the star sentences of Indian culture. And as we now know, culture is nothing but life governed with the key ideas. And it's the consciousness of this. That's why let us take very briefly, I will try to go through them. Of course, most of you know it, but still just to get us a summary of it. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. This line from Ishavasya Upanishad, it's certainly putting entire understanding of India. Whatever is seen, unseen, visible, invisible, living, non-living, tangible, intangible, thinkable, unthinkable, all that is pervaded by God, Ishvara. God is within everything, God is everything, God is behind everything, God is above everything, God is around everything. Nothing is other than that. So that great concept of India, that everything is Brahman, Sarvam Khaluidam Brahmasi, the parallel line. But the further line of this shloka is very beautiful. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha ma gridhak kasya svidhanam. That's why you can enjoy it only when you renounce it. Renunciation and service are twin ideals of India, Swami Vivekananda says. Intensify in these two channels and rest will take care of itself. There are two key ideas of India. If you want to see how to practice this Ishavasyam idam sarvam, then it is Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita. The key concept is you can enjoy only when you renounce. Tyagena ekena amrutatvam manushu, Upanishads declare. Very emphatically, Upanishads talk about this thing, that you can enjoy only when you give up. If you seek, you are not going to get it. You run after something, it will never come to you. Just give it up, leave it, and then you are going to get it, because everything is ultimately God. That's so beautiful. And ma gridhak kasya svidhanam. We are not like vultures trying to live on somebody else's defeat, degeneration, and decay and death. That's not human being. Vultures live like that. Human beings will always stretch their line longer than the other line. They will grow by their own intrinsic greatness, not try to belittle others, be jealous of others, or try to be, destructive of others. We have never done it for individuals. We have never done it for other nations. This nation has been there in spite of not destroying other nations. We have never tried that. So that is as Swami Vivekananda again says, each word of India has been said with blessing in front of it and peace behind. And that is the reason we live. Why we are living? Somebody asked the question. We are living because every word we said was having blessing and peace with it. We have never tried to destroy other nations, because we know very well we can be great even without trying to trouble or destroy others. Manatatra layam yati tadvishno paramam gadam. That is another beautiful sentence of India. If you want to reach there, what is the way? Because we are not simply telling philosophy. We have got a process to go there. We are going to make Shastra of everything. So they say to go there, to get the Vishnu's pada, you need to first calm down your mind. And that is what yoga is about. So Manatatra layam yati, you have to become from mind to no mind. You have to just lay. Mind should not become, it should not continue to be that chattering box. That is the way to reach the God. So the process has been given. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahmasi, Eko Deva Sarva Bhuteshu Gudha. These are all beautiful sentences of India, which are the key ideas of our entire culture throughout the millennium. And that these ideas are expressed through every artistic expression, good expression, I'm saying, representative expressions of India. Great sculptures, great paintings will always keep these central ideas somewhere behind it. That is what I firmly believe. Manaiva Manushyanam Karana Bandhana Mokshayo, another star sentence, great sentence of India. And I personally like it a lot, maybe because I got that thing identifiable with me myself. They say, what is the reason for your being in the prison? Why you are in the bondage? The reason is your mind. And what is the solution? What is the key to liberate yourself from this prison? The key is again your mind. So mind is the way of your liberating from the prison. Mind is the reason for your being inside this prison or bondage. I mean, this is fantastic for me. And I like this. See how small sentences are able to give you a lot, which otherwise cannot be expressed in books or the great, encyclopedias cannot express sometimes. And that's how I can go on telling. But these are some of the key sentences which India has always believed in. Indian culture is Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. We have this primordial sound or the Nada Brahma from which the entire world has been created. So these are some of the ideas. I mean, we can go further to that. Chitramevi Sansaram. That is the beautiful line which says that this entire, and we are talking of arts, that's why this line can be important. This entire sansara for Indian mind is actually Chitra. It's a picture. It's like going in front of you a chalachitra. It's going in front of you like a motion picture. Look, at that point of time, ancient times also, they would think of chalachitra or motion picture. So think of this as if some motion picture is happening in front of you. Enjoy it. Let us not get bogged down by things. We get too involved in that. You are here to enjoy the picture. You're not here to get, completely stressed out and frustrated by the picture. Ultimately, it's Chitramivi Sansaram. The entire Sansara is nothing but a picture happening in front of you. Ismin sarvam idam protam sarvam. I mean, these are all great sentences. Tattvamasi, of course, comes in that from Chandogya Upanishad, that thou art. I mean, what you're searching in all these things, ultimately, it is inside you. Tattvamasi. And that's why these are some of the, as I said, we can tell all these sentences one by one, but again, process comes, we are not simply telling ideal and the great thing what we are want to achieve. Indian mind is very peculiar that they will, Sri Aurobindo one side says that with a calm audacity, she says that it can be done if you want to do it, if you will to do it, there can be a process for it, there can be a science of it, and you can always do something what we are talking, and everybody can do it. Everyone can do it. So that assurance, that science, that way of finding out the solution and processes. One of the sentences in that line is Yavad Drushti Bhavor Madhye Tavat Kalam Kritam Kurta. Why you are fearing? Because your Drushti is not yet in the Bhumadhya. You are not yet concentrated at the middle of your eyebrows. The direct reference to the process. If you want to meditate, you concentrate in the point which is at the middle of your eyebrow, which is nothing but your chakra of the will, Agnya Chakra. So direct, I mean, there is no something mystic and you can say reserved from some people, not told to the people. That type of idea is not there. Vedanta is for everybody, and everybody should know it and should do it. That was the idea. So I mean, time is a bit limited, but I'm trying to tell you that these are the ideas which are govern India. Rina Kalpana. Each thing happens because there is some date indated. We are born with the date. Our entire life is to pay back the date. So there is Rishi Runa, there is Deva Runa, there is Pitru Runa, Matru Runa. So that's why we are born. We got this body from the parents. We owe it to them. We need to pay back to them. We have got this from our gurus and our teachers, so we have to pay back to them. So this entire thing is Yajna Kalpana. We have to give back this, sacrifice it back to the what we have already got from this cosmic cycle. And therefore, we are not enjoyers or the owners of this. We are trustees. We are trying to do this sacrifice, and therefore we don't have any sense of ownership or sort of unlimited enjoyment and consumption of things can never happen in this particular idea. And therefore, Yajna, Swadhyay, Dan. These are the three pillars of India's dharma. Yajna, that means Prakriti and Manushya Jivan, that is human life should have a harmony. That's why Yajna is to be done. Swadhyay is done because you have to understand the things. You must seek the knowledge about yourself and the others. And Dan, because ultimately when you have more, whether wealth or knowledge or anything, it has to be given to the others. So Yajna, Swadhyay, Dan. These are the three ideas. Acharya Devo, Pitru Devo, Matru Devo, Ati Devo, Satyam Vada, Dharmam Charo. I mean, these are the grand ideas which from Upanishadic age to the modern age, India has carried and cherished and has not been ready to give up. And she clings to these ideals, and that's why her culture is immortal. And as I said, educated people may have forgotten it, but the as Swamiji says, bring light to the poor, but bring more light to the rich, because the problem of their richnesses are more. Bring light to the uneducated, but bring more light to the uneducated people, because problems of today's educated people are more complex. So, I mean, it has been there in the blood of this, as last time, my last lecture also, we saw this rural and the tribal ladies painting their homes, having that Santoshat Anuttam Sukhalabha. They have not read Patanjali Yoga Sutra, but they are having that Santosh in their entire life. Contentment is there, and artistic expressions are so beautiful. So these are some of the things which ultimately got summarized in Bhagavad Gita or other great text of India. Entire life has been based on 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And it is all about Hritasya Pantha. As all planets or stars are going through their own cycle of righteousness, they always follow. So human beings and their societies also are supposed to do that. So entire life's journey should be governed with the Dharma. And what is Dharma? Kanat Muni in his Vaisheshik Darshana says, Yat Abhyudaya Nishreyasa Siddhi iti Dharma. That which will ensure material prosperity as well as spiritual emancipation. That is what is Dharma. So it is not about just ringing bells and offering flowers, and that is a ritual part of it. But both internal and external controlling nature and creating resources and creating wealth for all, for the welfare of all. That is what we are. And then when this Dharma is governing Artha and Kama, the 2 great energies of human life, which, as I said, they are the Prakriti. In the initial part, we said there is a Prakriti, there is a nature. The very natural tendency is to go by Dharma and Artha and Kama. So you can't suppress it, you cannot negate it. The only way is to put it under the bracket of Dharma, sublimate it, elevate it, and try to make them a marga to your liberation, moksha. So that's how Indian entire idea is. I think possibly that's how we can understand. Now, there was a little bit, I will just take another 5 minutes and then I will put it up to you all people for discussion, because I don't want to take all the time myself. But I will just briefly tell, as Madam was telling, how I got into this after my engineering background of all my things. I was totally from the manufacturing side and all. But when I read Swami Vivekananda's thoughts, very small, his quotations and all, I got something, very much I can say, I felt that this is what has got much to be learned and done, and I should give some time for this, some years for this. And that's how I got trained in Kanyakumari, and then my posting was in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, and I got a very rare opportunity to work in that area. And that's why India's most tribal region I could see, mountains and rivers, and the most turbulent also, because when we were working there, it was all full of insurgency and the problems and everything was there. So on one side, these are the issues, and then they say there was a slogan, lack of culture is lack of identity. So I was wondering, what is this slogan about? Where is this identity coming? Where is this culture coming? And who can tell more about this subject? So obviously it was 2 great masters for me. One was Swami Vivekananda, the other was Sri Aurobindo. And Sri Aurobindo's Foundations of Indian Culture literally saved me in that mountains of Arunachal Pradesh and Assam, I must say. I was saved by this book. I had no, reservation in declaring that to anybody for any number of times. I remember many times I was crossing Brahmaputra with one jholi on my shoulder, sometimes going and waiting for when there was a landslide here, this, that, there. So many experiences, interesting experiences. One of our office was in the basement, and when there was heavy monsoon, the entire office was filled with water. So funny things, but very interesting things happened. But we stick there because we thought there is some problem here and we are here to learn about it, solve it. And we don't know whether we are here to solve their problems or we are here to get our solutions, because we think they need our help, but actually we need their help. We require what we have missed in our urban life and the so-called modern life, colonial life, has been still preserved by these great people, rural people, tribal people. They don't know how Indian culture is preserved by them. But when you see this Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam and Manayovam, Karana Bandhana Moksha in their life, and this is not only my observation, Gandhiji went there during the Congress when Adhiveshan was there, and he observed the same thing. He has written that why we are here to teach these people what to do, what not to do. These people are living Indian culture. They are all the time they are doing that, and let us not bring to them. That's why these Hind Swaraj, Gram Swaraj ideas came from his books. So he said, there is a pukhari, that means there is a small talab, and then there is a paddy field which gives the rice. Pukhari will give the water. Pukhari means a small lake or pond. And then there are fish. So a Bengali or Assami person will it's enough for him to start dancing and singing. And singing and art is such a spontaneous way to do things, enough, no? There is a rice, there is fish, and there is water. What more you want in life? And then they will start decorating their homes. They will start painting in everything like that. So that's why he says that we don't have to teach them. Same expression, I felt same thing, because I said, who are we to teach them something? And we are teaching them something like CBSE and all this syllabus. We have to rethink on this, and we started rethinking. Are we doing correct, or we are actually doing wrong? Because they are coming up with their own beautiful ideas, and we are simply under the impact of uniformity. We want to crush all of these unknowingly or knowingly. So Foundations of Indian Culture literally gave me that, I can say oxygen it was. So wherever I was going, I was carrying that book with me. And still it is with me. It is just I keep it because I'm not able to read it. I can say I have not understood it to the extent a person, it should be 100% understood, but people like us may be understanding it quite less as compared to what Master has said. But one thing I can say that even one page, one quote, or one, just like I said, true happiness is the right terrestrial aim of every human being. True happiness lies in harmony of hand, head, and head. That is what these tribal people were. What they were doing with the hand was same in their heart, the same in their head. There was no problem. There was no mismatch. And we were struggling on all three fronts, finding out what to do with hand, what to do with head, what to do with heart. So that's what culture is all about. And my journey was there, as I said. And today people say visualization, this and that. But last time also I mentioned it. When we were really perplexed with the problems, because you see, one more point just I want to mention and stop here, that we are quite stereotyping sometimes culture. We say culture means there should be some great temples with the sculptures in it. There must be some, different deities, and we must have these, that. Then there must be absolute ban on certain things. For example, polygamy or polyandry should be banned because we are cultural. Non-veg should be banned. Befitting should be banned. But when you work in these such areas, every such stereotyping is challenged. And then you realize that culture is much deeper than all these things, because they are the expressions of particular time and circumstances. But the true culture, the true spirit is yet an undercurrent which is below this. And when there is absence of all these things, and yet you find that they are still living the Indian culture, that is, I think, the big lessons which are for all of us, that let us not cling to the forms, let us not cling to the external things. Let us not try to divide each other by such small petty things, that you eat this, I eat this, or I wear this and you wear this. These are all bahiranga. These are all the external formats of culture. Inside it, what flows in all of us is Indian culture. It is there in our blood and veins, and our every expression and our every breathing. It's as Sri Aurobindo says, wherever you go, you carry India as a stamp with you. You should carry that and put in every your word and expression, it should be there imprinted. That's the spirit which we want to take. I think that's the learning I also got. I would like to stop because I should not go on speaking and take time from other people who are so wonderfully educated in all this. But this is little thing which I wanted to say. And this is how the whole thing comes. I think I will stop here, and maybe Veluji or Kiranji and other people can speak into this.
Yeah, thank you, Narendraji. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful, very, with the help of Mahavakya, you dive very deep into that, and you explain so beautifully in a very simplistic manner. It reminds me the Sikshavalli, where a few words, Dharmam Chara, Satyam Vada. So it comes like it is so small words, but it changes the course of your life.
True.
So I think, say with Mahavakya, the way you describe, Dharayate iti dharma. So dharma is not like, so simply, but it is so profound that we live that dharma. It is not like in a very narrow form, if somebody understands. So these all Mahavakya, the way you explain, it is required nowadays much more, because people just use quote here and there and without understanding, and they interpret it in a very different manner. So again, today's I really appreciate the effort, and I can see that passion in explaining also. So it is wonderful session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I open this platform again for the discussion. I would really appreciate if you bring out your own interpretation here and make more intense session. Thank you so much. Please.
Narendraji, I really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
As Kiranji said, through the use of these Mahavakyas, you really kind of summarized, gave us the essence in a way of what India stands for. And it's very interesting. I'm joining this session from the heart of, the ancient Indian civilization, the most ancient city in the world, Banaras, Kashi, the city of light. So that's why I'm in a hotel with not very good internet access, but still, I'm really happy I could join this session. And I missed your last session. I'll be catching up on that soon. But I just wanted to kind of, make few points, few observations in the last few days, especially related to the art scene, and also I think bringing in what Narendraji you just shared. One thing that I have noticed, and this is my first visit to this most ancient city, but what I have noticed is something. I've been here for the last 2 days only, 1.5 days, and what I've noticed is that there is so much, a sense of spirituality is very much there in the very air, in the very soil of this land, especially this part of India, and yet there is also so much chaos that comes with the life. As Kiranji said in the morning, at the beginning of our session, we are trying to bridge the past and the present also in some way. So the present also includes so much of this outer chaos. I noticed that I went to the temple, the Kashi Vishwanath temple, early in the morning, and I came back around 5:30. I was there at 3:30, came back around 5:30, and I thought I'll take a little nap before going for breakfast. And from 5:30 onwards till like 6:30, 7 that I took nap, there was not a single moment when no car horn was not, blowing. Even that early in the morning, there is so much hectic life, throbbing life there. And then I started, with that perception, I started observing very carefully as I went through the city in auto rickshaws and things like that, that with that throbbing life, and those who have been to Banaras, they know it's a city of, small, narrow lanes. But what I found in many of these lanes is the street art that is taking over, which I believe is a new trend in India, most cities in India. For the last 10, 15 years or so, they are hiring college students studying art, giving them projects to beautify streets, which otherwise would have been just spoiled with, graffiti or posters or whatnot. But, and this afternoon, this evening, just before our session started, I was coming from some place, and the street art had clear influence of like Gemini Roy style painting, or the other folk art, other tribal arts, of India. So that, to me, that suggested that people are beginning to also take pride in renewing, rebirthing their towns, rebirthing these ancient cities. And the medium, one of the mediums they are using is art. This idea of using art to awaken a sense of pride in their city. And as Sri Aurobindo says, you start from near to far. So if we want the youth, if we want the youngsters, the present chaotic India to start taking pride and have a healthy appreciation of what the essence of the culture is. Art is a powerful medium. That's the interpretation I made, that so many street corners which would have been otherwise spoiled by people spitting or political parties using for propaganda or things like that, art has been used as a medium to preserve whatever was the ancient and to beautify it and to give a sense of pride and a sense of respect for the local culture, for the local, artistic community. So this is something that I've noticed in many other cities in the last 10, 12 years, but to see that in Banaras really gave me a very happy feeling. So I just wanted to kind of share that from where I see. So when I see that present and I, meditate again on what Narendra ji was describing so beautifully about the essence of India, I sense this thing that, yeah, we are waking up in a new way. We are rebirthing ourselves in a new way with new forms, as you said, and hopefully trying to not only conserve and preserve, but to even take that essence and express it in new ways. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that point. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's a very valid and very good point. And it is always ancient and modern. And people by instinct, I think they are able to bring it to the today's world and able to bring it in a very novel form sometimes.
Mm.
And that's very interesting to see how they have brought it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to know that you are in Banaras today. So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Anyone else
yeah.
can please share?
I think Acha, recordings are available. Nitin ji, recordings are available on YouTube video if you just Google. I would request Satya ji to, paste it previous day recording here on chat box so that everybody can, if they cannot go and Google, they can see from here. They can take link from here. So I just read Nitin ji's message and I'm responding to that message. I think anybody, Ashima ji, Juika ji, and Bindu ji, I can see names here. So if you want to share. Otherwise, Belu ji. Acha. Belu ji has, being in Banaras, it tempted me a lot because it is life and death, both you can see together. And wherever there is river, which is very alive, it makes you quite rooted. So that kind of experience you get. I don't know now how it looks, but when I saw Banaras long back, almost 10 years back, and the beautiful thing is that each and every person who is staying there, nearby that ghats, they know thoroughly what Banaras is. So it happened to me that, I visited Bhartendu Bhavan. I don't know whether any of you know about Bhartendu. He was a poet, a writer, critic, and Hindi literature's, essayist. I mean, from old to young generation, they were knowing what is Bhartendu Bhavan and why he was so popular. So it is like, it is in their blood. They know everything in detail. That's so beautiful thing, which, you can see in Banaras people also.
Yeah. The rootedness is very much there. And I've been here just 1.5 days, but I'm sensing that. And that pride is very much there. And the other thing I also like, yesterday evening, I was at that famous Ganga Aarti. And again, the whole ritual, I mean, there is so much artistic sense in it, like art in the highest sense. Of course, I was watching it from very far away, so I can't tell from the facial expressions of the people who were performing the arti, who were offering the arti. But that performance art, or the ritual as a performance art, that was again a very interesting experience to go through. That and it took me back to what we started off in our first session with the Vedic origins of Indian art, where the yagna, the outer act of yagna, Narendra ji was talking about the inner yagna, as the basis of Indian culture, but the outer act of yagna, which art critics like E.V. Hevel and even Anand Kumar Swami speak of as the earliest expression of art, ritual as our earliest expression of art. So it again was a very interesting visual reminder, the details with which every aspect of the arti is performed, what goes after next. And there is symbolism in every act of that ritual. So again, the connection between art and I'll be sharing some little pictures and videos that I took in our WhatsApp group. So it will be, more visual rather than just me talking. So that was very much a part of the experience. So yeah. And it's really nice that we are still preserving that in India, even though the ritual of Ganga Aarti, the way it is done, is very new. It's just few decades old, but the spirit is still very old.
Yeah.
The spirit is ancient, eternal. So, yeah.
Just one more thing, I don't know whether you could notice or not. We are talking about the influence of West on our, culture, on our influence on our art, literature, and everything. But Banaras is the place where West get influenced by our Indian culture.
Yes.
Whosoever came over there, might have seen many foreigners, and they are living the life of Banarasi. अब हमारे रंग में रंग गए हैं वो.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they are so one side you may see that there is a pizzeria, another part they are just doing the same ritual or same way they are praying, the way we pray here.
Yeah.
It is amazing combination of West and East there. But
Yeah.
Western people normally I don't see much in any other state, but I could see in Banaras this kind of thing over there.
True. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So I think almost everybody is silent and it means it is time. I'm so thankful that all of you are taking time out of your, and that is particularly when it is 7 to 8, you must be tired from your coming back from offices, and even though you're taking out time and sitting here and listening to the experts, I'm really accept my gratitude. I'm really thankful that you are here. So next time, please share whatever you feel like to share with us. It's not necessary that we should do intellectual discourse or something like that. But participate. I would request to participation more. Next time, I think Binduji is there.
No, I think Vladimir, I just saw that list.
Okay.
Vladimir is there. I think Bindu's is on 17th.
Okay.
So next is Vladimir. I just closed that file, but
yeah, no worries. I think Vladimir ji is there. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining, everyone. Please take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Narendra.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.